for all healthcare system. He has been a champion of efforts to rein in Wall Street, which we know is extracting more and more value from our hospitals. He has fought for clean air and water and for the creation of green jobs. In the 2016 campaign, the board of PASnap endorsed Bernie and PASnap members Sabrina Nixon and our dearly departed Jackie Silver were Bernie delegates to the Democratic National Convention. We at PASnap are delighted to have Bernie here with us today. And please join me in giving a warm welcome to Senator Bernie Sanders.
Sit, relax. It is an honor, truthfully, to be with you today. And I want to thank PASnap for the great work that you do in two important respects. First of all, there is no profession in healthcare more important than nursing. I don't deny, and I think our physician friends would acknowledge it, you are the backbone of the American healthcare system. All right? And that is why your profession is perhaps the most trusted profession in America. You are there when new babies are born. You're there taking care of the babies. You are there taking care of the moms, and you are there when people's lives are coming to an end. And you are there providing the humane and compassionate treatment that human beings need at the end of their lives. So you're there at the beginning, you're there at the end, and you are there every single day for everybody in between. So thank you very much. So I thank you very much for the hard and difficult work that you do, and it is difficult work. And when we talk about making it maybe less onerous, less difficult, we're talking about good staff ratios. And this is an issue we dealt with in Vermont a number of years ago. I know it's being dealt with all over the country, but the bottom line is that if we are serious about providing quality and compassionate care to our patients, you can't take care of all kinds of people. You need a limit to what you can effectively do, or you can't do your job well. So I understand that. But the second point that I want to make is not only the work, the enormously important work you do every day, but you also understand something else, that we are now living in a dysfunctional healthcare system, and that you cannot provide the quality care you were trained to provide and that you want to provide when you got 30 million people who have no health insurance and even more who are underinsured. How do you provide care? Rational care if somebody doesn't walk in to the doctor's office or the hospital when they should because their co-payments or the deductibles are too high. What do we do when people have no health insurance and they walk into a doctor's office far later than they should, and it turns out that because they did not get the treatment they should have when they needed to, they're now terminal? How outrageous is that? How unacceptable is it that every single year we are losing tens of thousands of Americans? You have seen it, I have seen it. Tens of thousands of Americans who are dying unnecessarily because they don't get the medical care they need when they need it. That is not something that should be allowed to continue in this country. So I believe, as I think most of you, that health care is a human right, not a privilege. That means whether you're poor or middle class or elderly, you should be entitled to all the health care you need because you are human, and in the richest country in the history of the world, we should do nothing less. Let's take just a brief moment to talk about the so-called healthcare system we have right now. 34 million Americans have no health insurance at all. And they pray to God that they don't get sick or their family members don't get sick because they can't afford to get the health care they need. And then you think about the many others who end up in the hospital, and instead of worrying about how they're going to get well, what do they need to do to get well, they are worried about whether or not their family is going to go bankrupt because they can't afford the $50,000 bill they're being presented with. You want to talk about a dysfunctional healthcare system? Last year, 5 major drug companies made $50 billion in profit. That is criminal. Meanwhile, 1 out of 5 Americans cannot afford to fill the prescriptions that doctors and nurses write. How insane is that? In other words, it negates the entire system. If I walk into the doctor, walk into a nurse's office, and I get diagnosed with a problem, somebody writes out a prescription, and I can't afford to fill the prescription, what's the sense of it all? What does it mean that elderly people in Vermont, who I have talked to, and it's true in every state in this country, are cutting their pills in half, which you know is a dangerous thing to do, because they cannot afford to continue paying the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs. So what do we have to do? And let me tell you, as somebody who has been at this for a number of years, this is not easy stuff. Because today, the function of healthcare in America is not to provide quality care to all of our people. That's a rational healthcare system. The function of today's healthcare system is to make billions in profits for the insurance companies and the drug companies. And we are going to change that system. It is not acceptable to me that we are now living with a healthcare system that allows 5 health insurance companies to make over $20 billion in profit last year. And listen to this. The top 65 CEOs in that industry made $1.7 billion in compensation in 2017. This is the definition of dysfunctionality. All over America, people cannot afford the rising cost of health care. They cannot afford the prescription drugs that they need. And yet, the CEO of Aetna, a gentleman named Mark Bertolini, received a golden parachute worth nearly $500 million after his company merged with CVS, which will only drive the cost of health care even higher. $500 million for engineering a merger, and 34 million people have no health insurance, and even more are underinsured with high deductibles and high copayments, and 1 out of 5 Americans cannot afford the prescription drugs they need. So brothers and sisters, we are going to take on the greed of the insurance industry. We're going to take on the greed of the pharmaceutical industry. And we are going to join every other major industrialized country. This is not a radical idea. I know some people think, oh, Bernie's proposing a radical idea. This is what exists in one form or another in every other major country on earth. And we will create a Medicare for all single-payer program. And when we do that, by the way, because we have to take on the lies that come from the White House and the zillions of dollars that are going to be thrown against us, let's get the facts right here. Because Trump and his friends certainly will distort everything that we're trying to do. Number one of the arguments from the White House is, okay, Medicare is a good and popular program, notwithstanding that when LBJ back in the 60s tried to create Medicare, he was being attacked for socialized medicine. Put that aside, all right? Medicare today is a good and popular program, and what our opponents say is if Medicare for all is established, it's going to be worse for seniors currently on Medicare. Now, I know that I will shock you when I suggest to you that President Trump is lying. Because as you know, he never lies. All right? So what is the truth? The truth is that Medicare today is a good program, is a popular program, but it has its limitations. For example, Medicare for seniors does not cover dentures, right? Does not cover hearing aids, which are quite expensive, does not cover eyeglasses. Our legislation for seniors covers dental care, eyeglasses, and hearing aids. We expand benefits under Medicare for all. Our legislation absolutely and positively provides freedom of choice to go to any doctor, any hospital that you want. And under our proposal, people have a lot more freedom than they have right now because there are a lot of programs out there, insurance programs, where you're in a network, you can't get to the doctor that you want. We will give the American people finally the freedom of choice that they want. Oh, Medicare for all is so expensive, we just can't afford it. Really? We're now spending $11,000 a person on health care. We are spending twice as much as other countries around the world that provide health care to all. Spending about twice as much as the Canadians. I live 50 miles away from the Canadian border. They spend about half as much as we do. So how do you not afford a system in which we're spending twice as much as the people of any other country on earth? What Medicare for all means, it begins to treat health care the way we treat public education. And public education means that any kid, regardless of his or her income, walks in the door of that school. And what we are saying about health care for all, any person with, regardless of income, gets the health care that they need. And our proposal not only guarantees health care to all, it eliminates deductibles and co-payments. And for the vast, because we are eliminating the current goal of health care to make huge amounts of money for the insurance companies and the drug companies, and also, as all of you know, an incredibly complicated maze. So right now, doctors And nurses and hospitals have to deal with the reality that they're dealing with hundreds of different health insurance programs. You have a $5,000 deductible. Oh, you're over that right now. You have a $3,000 deductible. Yours is $10,000. Your copayment is $50. Yours is $100. Your insurance program covers this drug, but your insurance program covers that drug. And that means that we are spending hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars a year trying to sort through all of that stuff. And then you got the insurance companies telling you what kind of therapies you can provide for your patients. And doctors and nurses spend, tell me if I'm wrong with this, half your lives on the phone trying to get the insurance companies to approve the kind of therapies and medicine you think is appropriate. I think what the American people want is a simple system which eliminates all of that bureaucracy and waste. So when you have all of these hundreds of systems, you know, all these administrators going crazy trying to figure out who is covered for what, that's not how we should be spending our health care dollars. We should be spending our health care dollars in making sure that we have all of the nurses that we need and that they are adequately paid. We should spend our health care dollars making sure that we have all of the doctors and the child psychiatrists that we need. There are parts of America, I don't have to tell you this, you know it. There are parts of America where there are entire counties where there are literally almost no health care accessible. All right? And that is why, by the way, I have fought very hard with success to double the amount of money that goes into the National Health Service Corps. And what that means is if we need more nurses and we need more doctors and we need more dentists, what we are prepared to do is forgive the debt that you accumulated if you are prepared to practice in an underserved area in America, in rural America, in urban America, where we desperately need healthcare professionals. So let me conclude by saying this. I know, without the shadow of a doubt, that the healthcare industry, the drug companies they have endless amounts of money, and the insurance companies who have endless amounts of money, they will be throwing everything that they can against us. You're going to turn on the TV and there's going to be all these lies and so forth and so on. But what I am happy to tell you is that because of your efforts, because of what I have done, what thousands of people all over this country have done, is the American people now understand that in a democratic, wealthy, civilized country, every man, woman, and child in this country is entitled to health care. And poll after poll shows that more and more Americans support the most cost-effective way to guarantee health care to all, which is a Medicare for all single-payer program. So let me just conclude. You guys are the heroines and the heroes of our healthcare system. You're there every day. It's hard work, and I know there are some days that are very painful. You lose people maybe who should not be lost. But you are, as I mentioned earlier, the backbone of the healthcare system, and our job is to give you the resources and the laws that will allow you to do the quality work that I know all of you want to do. So keep up the great work. Thank you all very much.